Good morrow, scholars. Sorry that I wasn't uploading anything yesterday and the day before. I was feeling so incredibly awful. I mentioned that in the last video that I just uploaded. Well, by the time you see this, the other one will have uploaded. Anyway, so, how you guys doing? Really, I am sorry. Uh, I would try and get back on track, but considering there's only like this much left and one chapter left in the other book, uh, oh well. I'll try and have 2 videos of Costume Quest up tomorrow, and if I'm up to it, a video today after I'm done with these. We'll see what happens. Anyway, we're in chapter 35, page 288. He came to under the light of a harsh white bulb. The filament twinkled, and the old electricity was humming loudly, ready to cut out at any second. Dan groaned and tried to move. He couldn't. Oh no. At first he thought it was the pain in his head that was trapping him, but as consciousness and feeling returned, he could tell that there were straps buckled tightly over his chest, head, waist, and ankles. He screamed, and the sound echoed back at him. The straps held him fast, and his struggles only increased the pain and the fear that were making him frantic. The most he could do was turn his head a fraction of an inch from one side to the other. The operating amphitheater. That's where they were. The tables, the gurneys. That meant there was a tray of sharp surgical instruments near inches from his skull. "Let me out!" he shouted. "You can't do this to me!" Dan twisted his neck the other way. Abby was strapped to her own table, and she had a gag in her mouth. Uh-oh. A metal gurney was set out next to her. The white light reflected the stainless steel tray at her side, illuminating drills, scalpels, hooks, the horror show of tools needed to perform a lobotomy. The overhead light flashed as if there had been a power surge, forcing Dan to blink. The electricity stabilized again. A shadow oozed from the dark perimeter of the amphitheater. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Anyway, Dan could just make it out in the blurry spots of his vision, but he couldn't see who it was. The man with the crowbar? Ted Biddle? Jordan? Dan was shaken enough to believe anything. Then, in the light, the reality shocked him. Felix? His voice sounded almost drowned out by the bouncing echoes of the chamber. "What the heck is going on? How did you get down here?" "I never left," said Felix slowly. "Untie us, you idiot! Get us out of here!" "Oh, you're not going anywhere," Daniel Crawford, Felix said with a snicker. "What?" As Felix came closer, Dan saw he was barefoot and wild-eyed. He wore a white doctor's coat over a pair of boxer shorts. "I'm confused." What? What do you think I should call my masterpiece? Uh-oh. Peace. I was thinking, revenge. His mouth twisted freakishly when he talked, moving too much over every word. His voice didn't sound like Felix's. It was high and mocking, like a clown's. He walked strangely, too, marching from side to side as if he were tied to puppet strings and being manipulated by someone high above. "Felix, what are you talking about?" Dan said. This was Felix. Quiet, unassuming Felix. Why would Felix, of all people, want revenge? But deep down, Dan knew this wasn't Felix anymore. This was his roommate's body, but the man inside, the man wanting revenge, was someone else. Someone who didn't want revenge on Dan, but on Daniel Crawford. This was the sculptor. Is it a ghost? Felix slunk up on Dan's table and leaned over him. "You're all so easy to mold, fleshy clay fools," he sang. His eyes were completely black. He moved his thumb almost tenderly down Dan's nose. The first one was too easy. "I found him alone on the stairway, thinking he could watch over you all. But I was watching over him, and he didn't even see me coming. That one I called Prelude. The only tricky part was finding another fool to pin it on. That's where I needed Felix's help. A late-night biology lab makes a little chloroform, and poof, we were ready for anything. Dan thought he could see the real Felix fighting on the inside, trying to take back control. The lights in his eyes brightened and darkened, as if the power in his body was blinking on and off. He needed to give Felix enough time to win. So he killed Joe and framed that man in town, Dan said. He only pretended to find Joe's body. Felix touched Dan's nose again, making him sick to his core. The second statue was just for fun, for laughs. That one I called Chaos. Too bad the molding didn't stick. E. Dan remembered how he thought E had been posed. The legs too neatly arranged to be an accident. No. Felix was suddenly in his face, eye to eye, saliva dripping his too pink mouth onto Dan's chin. Or dripping from his too pink. Well, anyway. The giggling insanity had all run out, and now it was just rage. Chaos. Chaos. Felix danced back away from him, making a full circle around Dan's table as he talked. And then for my curtain call, I had to take action before that horrible man ruined all our fun. He almost found us, Daniel Crawford. He knew what was happening. I called that sculpture precautionary measures. Sal Weathers had almost found them. He knew what had been unleashed in Brookline. If only he had listened to Dan in the beginning. Sal Weathers, I miss you. But now those fools are out of my way, and it's your turn. Your turn. Felix was chuckling with glee. I will do that. Then his eyes narrowed. I've been waiting for you. Waiting for so long. You will be my finest sculpture. My magnum opus. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Dan wondered when exactly the transformation had happened. Maybe it had started on day one. It was Felix who found the photos and planted the idea for Dan to see himself. Or see them himself, there we go. Maybe Dan had never known the real Felix at all. But the fact that he'd been sleeping next to this thing for days, maybe weeks, gave him hope. He felt like Felix must still be in there somewhere, or otherwise, surely, he would have killed him long ago. And that man with the crowbar? The one who attacked you? Dan said, trying to buy Felix time to make him talk. Oh, him, Felix said, as if the thought of the man bored him. I let him in through the window with a false promise of drugs. When I couldn't deliver, he got a little angry. Felix said the last word with a flutter of his fingers. Of course, my real target was your friend, the mathematician. My plan was to meet him downstairs, then meet my alibi in the attic. I didn't count on him coming with a crowbar, or you waking up, not after I borrowed your phone. Not my finest hour, to be sure, but I did do a bang-up job messing with your mind, just as you used to mess with mine. Gets the last words into Dan's ear. You're crazy, Dan shouted, lashing out against the straps, still too tight. Am I? Felix seemed genuinely taken aback by the idea. He picked up a scalpel from the tray and stuck the blunt end in his mouth to chew on. Ew. Then he plucked it out again and flourished it. Maybe I am. Hardly matters now. I'm finally going to get you back for all those failed experiments. Although I suppose one of them didn't fail, did it, Crawford? I mean, here we are. Felix was on top of him again. I'm uncomfortable. Does that make you happy, or does it make you feel sad? With the sharp end of the scalpel, Felix slightly traced his own clown-faced grimace. He left behind a red curve, a thin scratch that was visible even after he'd taken the instrument away. But I'm not Daniel Crawford. I'm Dan, your roommate, Dan shouted. Roommate? Felix mused. Yes. You and I, we were in the same room. This room, but we were never mates, so no. With this, Felix dipped the scalpel toward Dan's hand until it was poised just above his eye. And that's when the light cut out. No! Felix shouted. His rapid footsteps echoed across the room, moving farther and farther away as he went toward the switches. Dan breathed a sigh of relief, but it was short-lived. A hand clapped over his mouth, making it impossible to talk. and tried to shake it off, but it was no use. Shh, came the voice in his ear. Even with that one sound, he knew who was there to save him. Jordan. Dan stopped struggling. He felt the straps that were holding his head down fall away, and then those around his chest, and finally those on his waist and ankles. He sat up quickly, massaging life back into his limbs. Jordan's hand squeezed his shoulder and warned him. The light snapped back on with a loud electric hum. Jordan was there, squinting, his glasses reflecting the sudden burst of light. I knew you two were useless without me, Jordan muttered, backing up close to Dan. Sneaky. Felix shrieked from the switches near the door. He jumped the stairs leading down to the operating floor, bounding side to side like a deranged jackrabbit. Fleshy, bendy, moldy, sculpty, sneaky fools. His words ran together in a crazed slur. I'm not going to do that. Eyes wide and wild as he charged at them, scalpel held high. Move! Dan shouted, jumping off the operating table. He pushed Jordan behind him and grabbed a gurney. Felix descended on him, slashing in every direction. Dan kept the wheeled table between them, moving it to block wherever Felix moved. Felix laughed, tossing the scalpel from hand to hand. I haven't had this much fun in years. On the last word, he lunged. Flying across the table, Dan ducked, but Felix was stronger and quicker, and he grabbed Dan by the collar, throwing him to the floor. Dan clamped his hand around Felix's wrist to keep the scalpel from cutting his face. But Felix had at least 20 pounds of muscle on him, and the strength of Dan's arms was fading fast. He should have gone to work out with him, oddly enough. Felix pinned him down, the scalpel lowered inch by agonizing inch, until Dan could feel the sharp tip of its grazing, until he could feel the sharp tip of it grazing his cheek. There we go. Sorry. Ugh, that's spooky. Imagine waking up to that. No, you will not let him do this to you. You're better than he is. Or not. With a strength he didn't know he had, Dan pushed back hard and sent Felix tumbling. The scalpel fell out of Felix's hand. Dan rolled hard to one side and jumped onto his feet. He loomed over Felix, and Felix screamed, recoiling. Dan reached down suddenly, strong, so strong, and grabbed him by his coat. He hauled him up, throwing him onto the operating table. Dan roared from the effort, but then it was over and Felix was lying down helpless. I'm really confused. Strap him down, Dan commanded. Strap him down, we can't let him get free. As Dan held Felix to the table, Jordan grabbed the straps and buckled them quickly, chest first, then legs. Felix was struggling wildly, and it took 2 tries to get the head buckled in. Finally, Jordan had to cradle it in his hands while Dan tightened the strap over him. There were flecks of saliva and blood on Felix's lips, and his muscles were bulging and pulling against the restraints. Soaked in sweat, firing on all cylinders, Dan reached down to pick up the scalpel. The time for experiments and cures is over. We need to end this, Dan, once and for all. Uh-oh. Dan, what are you doing with that? Jordan asked, nervously eyeing the scalpel in Dan's hand. He's not going anywhere now. Let's go and let the police handle this. No, Dan seethed. I don't know. My mouth doesn't work properly. No one else. Only I can finish this. The scalpel lowered against Dan's will. Uh-oh. No, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't me. I am you. The scalpel drew closer and closer to Felix. No. The vision descended on him, hard and fast, ripping him out of his body and into another. It was another time, another decade, and he was Daniel Crawford. Crawford, the warden again. Oh dear. The amphitheater was packed with observers, everyone craned in their seats to witness his technique. Half of them believed his claims, and half of them didn't. But they all wanted to know his secret procedure, just in case it worked. A poor, broken dentist strapped to the gurney, at least as a side effect of the preparatory operations, had finally been cured of his rage. Then came the screech of the intercom, that stupid new secretary, Julie. If this was anything less than dire, he'd have her head. The police! The police are on their way! The police? Coming here? Somebody told. and now his audience was fleeing in a frenzy. He seethed, dang it, in anger at the pounding of their footsteps and the voices rising around him like the tide of some obliterating sea. Those cowardly doctors tumbled over one another as they ran, so the police were coming. How about that? Dennis screamed, shocking Daniel out of his thoughts. Had he not given him a high enough dose of a sedative? What? A sedative? Why does it sound like I'm not saying that word correctly? Did it matter? This was to be the final experiment after all. Cursing, Daniel hurried to finish, far sloppier than he would have liked, and then, throwing off his bloody gloves, he fled. The last to leave. The last but for Dennis. He switched off the lights. The others were long gone when he reached his office. He lost precious time moving the cabinet over the door to the lower levels. His last hope to pretend that his practices were entirely above ground. He took off his spectacles and jammed them onto the hook. Residual blood, oh no. Smearing down the wall, papers, photographs, all of it scattered. He hardly cared. This was a minor setback. He'd give them that. But his work would live on. His legacy. His life. The door was flying open. The police were pouring in. And then there were cuffs and shackles, much like the ones holding Dennis down below. Did they leave him? That explains a lot. Where's his body then? Did he get free? Is he dead? I'm confused. Somebody told. It was the girl, he thought. It had to be the girl. She was every nurse's favorite, with her dancing, her smiling, her beautiful hair. One of them must have gone soft, let her slip. And now it was all crashing down because of her. The snitch with the little scar on her head. She'd seen and understood too much. But his legacy had lived on, and now Warden Crawford was back where he belonged, in the amphitheater where Dennis had waited for him all these years. Only one thing wasn't right. His vision wasn't quite perfect. Everything was spinning. Dan? I don't know who it is. Someone was calling his name. He reeled and tumbled forward, finding the gurney and gripping it for balance. A pale, quivering face peered up at him. Dennis? Or was it Felix? Either way, he had the scalpel. It was right there in his hand, waiting to carve. He had forced himself to focus, to look again. This wasn't him. He wasn't the warden. It would never be. He dropped the scalpel. The clatter echoed through the amphitheater. I'm not you. I will never be you. Fleshy, bendy, moldy fool. This isn't over, Felix whispered. It's far from over. That's disturbing. Dan shoved the gurney away in fear and disgust, far, far out of his reach. It tumbled and fell over and strapped to the top. Felix groaned before going quiet. Okay. It's this place, Dan shouted. Jordan had gone to Abby, forcing open her restraints and shaking her awake. We have to get out of the asylum. We need to leave. All of us. He reached the other gurney just as Abby was woozily climbing down. She flung herself into his arms, but Dan only gave her the quickest squeeze before pulling away. We have to get out of here. It's Brookline. Me and Felix. You have to help me get him far away from here. That's going to be tough. He's out cold. Jordan had sprinted back to the fallen gurney. He glanced up from where he knelt, glasses askew. But if we all live together, I think we can carry him in the restraints. Dan nodded, steeling himself as he returned to Jordan's side. There we go. And that's what we'll do. How long is this chapter? Is this? 1, 2. You know what? I'll save this one for next time. Yeah, definitely. Definitely next time. Okay? Sorry about that. On the plus side, I'll finish both of these books Saturday. Hopefully I'll have Saturday off. But if not, on Sunday, I'm going to have, hopefully, something special. I have something planned, but hopefully it'll actually come together. I really doubt it will. I'm not going to get my hopes up. Not this time. But it should be a lot of fun for me, and I think it'd be a nice thing to have for the channel. So, wish me luck. And until next time, goodbye, everybody. I'm going to go get Iggy real quick before I forget. Anyway.